I'm Naomi, and I'm 32 years old. I have a 5-year-old son named Freddie, and he is the light of my world. Unfortunately, it turns out the same cannot be said for his dad and grandmas, as I have a harrowing story to tell that still sends chills down my spine to this day. I never thought that I'd have a story like this to share, but here goes. A few years ago, my husband and I went on a trip to visit his family in Canada. I was excited to see his mother, as I hadn't seen her since our wedding approximately 5 years prior, but I had no idea what was in store for me. For some reason, it appeared as though my mother-in-law wasn't able or willing to visit us. I would ask why she wouldn't come, and she'd always respond with a pressing work-related emergency that prevented her from visiting. For 5 years of his life, my beautiful son hadn't seen his grandmother from his dad's side, and it was a worry of mine. "Mommy, when will I get to see Grandma?" "Soon, my dove, soon." I had to bite the bullet and decided that we as a family should just go up there and visit, even though it made more sense for her to travel down since the majority of the family, even the extended family, stay here in Florida. Nonetheless, I really wanted Freddie to know who his grandma was, so we made the trip. Once we arrived, we were greeted by a very grim and stern-looking Becky. Even though that was her character, a no-nonsense type of woman, it was shocking to see that she bore little to no emotion to see her grandson for the first time. "Hello, Grandma, I'm Freddie, and I'm the grandson." "Oh, hello, little one. Hope you had a good flight." That's it? Was she crazy? It's like she would combust at the slightest show of affection and compassion. Freddie, being the innocent and pure ball of light and love he was confused at the rejection. He wasn't used to this type of treatment. Nonetheless, because he is loved and is a positive boy, he still maintained hope that a relationship could be formed. "Hey, Mom." "Hello, son. How are you?" "I'm good, thank you. Let's go home. I'm freezing." "Can't believe I forgot how cold Canada could get. You should move back up here. It's better than Florida." "I don't think we can. We have so much down there, it would just be impossible." "But you can work remotely, right? And honestly, you shouldn't even be working. You should retire and rest. Becky, why not move down to Florida and be closer to us? And be closer to all the half-naked hooligans and miscreants? No, I'm fine here in my cold and cool weather." Cold and cool were understatements. We were practically freezing. I made sure to bundle up Freddie in as many layers as possible. He'd never really been in contact with this level of coldness in his life, so I was extremely worried. But for whatever reason, his grandma was obsessed with the cold. So much so that on the second day of our stay in Canada, she said this at the breakfast nook. "Let's go for a walk." "A walk in this weather? Wasn't there a forecast for a blizzard later on today?" "What's the blizzard, Daddy?" "It's a cold snowstorm that's windy and very scary." "Oh no." "Right. Very scary. I don't think we can do that, Becky." "Oh, come on. If you keep coddling that baby, he's going to grow up to be a wuss. You have to show him the harsh nature of reality. He's 5 years old, and it's a blizzard, Becky. I don't think that argument applies here." "Really? You want to disrespect me in my home?" No, not at all. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I'm sorry if you're offended. I just think that." "Okay, good. So we can go then." "Mom, I don't think it's a good idea. It's to your favorite spot, Jack. Remember behind the rock near the waterfall." "Really? The last time I was there, I was probably 5 years old. You see how momentous it would be to show your son, who is the exact same age as you were all those years ago, one of your favorite spots in Canada. You do have a point. Plus, we're 2 experts in Canadian weather, and we'll make sure everything is okay. So please don't worry, Naomi. We can do this." "Okay, only if you're sure, because I don't know anything about this, and obviously, Freddie doesn't either." So please, let's remember to stay close. Yeah, of course. Don't worry. We began our trek towards the supposed favorite spot. How someone could enjoy this cold weather this much, maybe it's because I'm a Floridian, but I would rather skip out on the debilitating coldness of this place. Regardless, I had to make sure that Freddie was enjoying himself. And the only reason why we continued to do this was that every time she saw his face, it was lit up with joy and amazement at what he was witnessing. At some point, though, I began to feel tired, and I could tell that Freddie was tired too. But he didn't want to complain because he wanted to bond as much as possible with his grandma. Along the way, we passed an old-looking cabin with puffs of smoke coming out of it. Look, a cabin. Yes, sweetie, it's a cabin. Guys, is it okay if we stop and rest for a while? Perhaps the people in the cabin would be willing to house us for a while. We are in Canada after all. You Canadians are super nice. That's not funny, and it's actually a bit derogatory to insinuate that all of us are kind. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was making a joke. I didn't realize it was in poor taste. Yeah, well, it seems as though you don't know a lot of things you do are in poor taste. But we continued along the path, getting weary by the minute. I carried Freddie, and his added weight wasn't helping me in my alertness. Off in the distance, I could see Jack and Becky moving with speed. I called out to them, telling them to slow down. Oh, come on, you slowpokes. I'm 65, and I'm better than you too. Hurry up. As I mentioned earlier, we don't do this often. Hurry up, you're going to miss the best part. What? I can't hear you. Please slow down. At this point, Jack and Becky appeared to have disappeared. The snow was getting worse, and it seemed like the aforementioned snowstorm was about to hit us. All around us was just white. Freddie began to cry, and I was getting extremely worried. The cold wind howled through the seemingly empty forest, whipping snow into my eyes and stinging my skin. I held my son tightly against my chest, trying to shield him from the biting cold as we trudged through the knee-deep snow, searching for any signs of help. Hours had passed since Jack and Becky had left us stranded in the middle of nowhere, miles away from the nearest town or shelter. She had taken my husband with her, leaving me and my son to fend for ourselves in the freezing wilderness. I was furious with her and my husband, but more than that, I was terrified for my son's safety. Mommy, it's so cold. I want to go home. I know, my baby. I'm so sorry about all of this. I promise you I'm going to find help for us, okay? Don't you worry one bit. As we stumbled through the snow drifts, I could feel my body growing weaker by the minute. I knew that we couldn't survive out here for much longer, and finding a place of safety was the top priority. But just when I thought that all hope was lost, a faint light appeared in the distance. We stumbled towards it, half blind and half frozen, until we finally reached a small cabin from before, with its puffs of smoke still billowing in the harsh wind, nestled in a clearing. With what little strength I had left, I knocked on the door as hard as I could and then slumped into it. Now, who cooled? Oh, Harold, get some boiling water and some blankets right now. A kindly old couple took us in. They were so gracious as to allow us to remove our frozen clothes, have us bathe in the water they drew for us, and set us by the fire. With a fresh pair of clothes and hot soup and blankets to wrap ourselves in, as we huddled together in the warmth, my anger and frustration began to boil over. How could they? How could they do that? I hope they freeze out there. There are more people out there. We have to go and get them. No, don't bother. It's my good-for-nothing mother-in-law and husband. They left us out there to freeze. You tell a lie. Why do such an awful thing? I knew that Becky was always like this, but Jack? No way he would do that to us. Hang on a second. Becky, that name sounds familiar. If she's a lady with a slim frame, very tight-lipped and serious all the time. Does she wear purple glasses and a mole on her upper lip? The very one. How do you know her? She usually tracks throughout these parts, but such an odd thing to do during this time when snowstorms are plentiful. As a matter of fact, I've never seen her around here during this time of the year. How peculiar. Now, sweetheart, please tell us how you know her. I'm her daughter-in-law. We came to visit from Florida because she hadn't seen her grandchild, Freddie, ever since he was born. I really wanted for them to bond and get to know each other, but she seemed disinterested even after we came all this way. Freddie was nestled with me, fast asleep in my arms with a smile on his face. Thank God he made it. Thank God he was safe. How his little body survived all of that still remains a wonder to me to this day. But the more I looked at him, the more frustrated I grew at his useless father and grandmother. How could she not come down to visit? That baby, he's gorgeous. It brings tears to our eyes knowing that this happened. You see, we don't have any children of our own. We couldn't bear any children, so we decided to come out here and live on the mountaintops. It's the life that we've always wanted, but we just can't fill the missing gaps in our hearts. So to hear that someone privileged enough to have such a beautiful grandchild has chosen to be complacent is something that we cannot forgive. I've always had a strange feeling about Becky. I've told you this, Harold. That woman is not all right in the head. I called out to them, telling them to wait for us, but they just kept going ahead. They could hear me, but they were choosing not to listen. Why would they do that? Sometimes we don't know why people do the evil stuff they do. All we can do is do the best that we can do. We spent the rest of the evening conversing, and as much as I was still fuming, an overwhelming sense of relief washed over me because I knew that Freddie and I were safe. Morning came, and it appeared as though the blizzard subsided. I searched various websites to find that weather reports stated that it was now safe to maneuver through the town and city. I exchanged contact information with Georgina and Harold, thanking them for all of the love and care they showed us. There's no need to thank us. We just did the right thing. Anybody with half a heart would have done the same thing. Please let me escort you back to your home. Harold and Georgina accompanied us to the place of residence, and lo and behold, we found Jack and Becky sitting comfortably on the front porch, as if Freddie and I weren't on death's door the day before. I got out of the car and began to lose it. What the hell is wrong with you people? How could you leave us there? It was slowing us down. We wanted to see the frozen waterfall. Are you serious? Freddie could have died last night. Don't you care about that, Jack? To be fair, you could have just stayed home if you really weren't ready to go on this adventure. I swear to God, at that moment, my vision turned red. I was ready to attack, kick, scream, and yell for the whole world to hear just how awful and sick these people were. Not only did they leave us out there, they appeared to have zero remorse for what they did. It was almost as if they were trying to kill us. Before I could launch a whole slew of actions and words that couldn't be taken back, Harold held me back, telling me to compose myself as Freddie was still in the car with Georgina, witnessing all of this go down. It took a moment for me to calm myself, but even though I had calmed down, I was still aggressive and argumentative. You left us there. We could have died, Jack. Don't you care about that? Don't you care that your mother tried to kill us? Don't be dramatic, Naomi. She wasn't trying to do that. Look, the reason why we didn't come back for you is because we knew that you would find help and shelter. I mean, you pointed out that cabin, right? It looks like you got the help you needed, no thanks to you or your mother. I cannot believe what I'm hearing right now. How could you be so cold and callous to your wife? I have half a mind to come over there and knock you out. Try it, old man. I dare you. Enough, everyone. Don't give me a headache. Listen, Naomi, I'm sorry that you couldn't handle a bit of the cold weather, but I swear there was no ill intention on my part. Oh yeah? Why on earth would you go tracking at this time of the year? We never see you during this time, so why now? Why now, when you have a child who only wants to bond with you? Someone could argue that this level of gross negligence was intentional, Becky. There's no way an experienced tracker like you would travel during this time. Only experts can mess around with the weather like this, but novices like Naomi and the child like Freddie. You are a sick and twisted, pathetic individual. This seemed to dissolve Becky's cold and hard exterior, as she looked pained, at least for a moment, before returning to her Wicked Witch of the West exterior. I don't know what you're trying to insinuate, but if you're looking for a battle, I can assure you that you'll lose. You forget that I'm a rich woman. I have access to the best of the best. Let's see how your little argument is going to go in court, old man. You two are sick, and I never want to see you again. I hope you rot in hell. You know what, Naomi? I don't care anymore. I don't care about putting up this front to you and everyone, so let me lay it straight for everyone to hear. I don't care about you and that baby. Honestly, I wish that both of you did die yesterday. At least this way, you'd stop pestering me about trying to meet that baby. Do I look like I care? I made my move to her as if my body had a mind of its own. I walked up to her and slapped her. I continued to slap and kick as much as I could before being ripped off of her by both Jack and Harold. Naomi, how dare you? How dare I? How dare you sit there and defend this witch? She had it coming. I'll sue you. How dare you put your hands on me? She obviously didn't mean that. Look, it seems like tensions are high right now. Why don't we all take a deep breath? Let's all come inside and sort this out. You are a weak and pathetic man, and I hope you spend the rest of your life atoning for what you did to your son. Before Jack could respond, I spat squarely in his face before heading inside, getting both Freddie and his belongings, and getting into the car with Georgina and Freddie. Mommy, I'm scared. What's happening? Why did you fight Grandma? Sweetie, I'm so sorry you had to see that. Things are a lot complicated here, and I don't want to lie to you, but I'm afraid you're a bit too young to understand. But for now, I'm so sorry to tell you that it seems like Grandma and Daddy don't want us here. We can't be here because Daddy and Grandma aren't very nice people, and I don't want you to be around people who aren't nice. But Georgina and Harold are nice people, aren't they? Yes, I love Georgina and Harold. Can Georgina and Harold be my grandma and grandpa? Oh, bless your heart, my sweet child. You're gonna make me cry. Of course, I can be your grandma. I'll always be your friend, and I promise to take care of you if you need me to. Harold got in the car and drove us to a hotel where we got some time to rest and recuperate. But unfortunately, the whole ordeal was just a bit too much to handle. I was very fearful for the future of both Freddie and me, as this meant divorce just because of how powerful and influential Jack and Becky were. I was scared that they would end up getting custody of Freddie. I decided to talk to Georgina and Harold about it once Freddie was fast asleep. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna go to jail. Nonsense. That hag won't press charges. But what if she does? She won't, because we have evidence of her conspiracy to commit murder. How? We always come prepared, sweetie. We secretly recorded the whole ordeal. Now you can take this recording with you and use it against your husband and mother-in-law in court. You guys are angels in disguise. How did you even? Shush, my child. Don't worry about all that. Just listen to the audio recording. We sat and listened, and sure enough, the whole ordeal had indeed been recorded, including the part where I physically attacked her. Now they'll get me for physical assault. Oh God, why did I do that? Now you listen here, my child. You did what any loving mother would have done. You're a mama bear, and you simply protected your child. Honestly, I wish that Harold and Jack didn't stop you. I knew you would have taught her a good lesson. But the thing is, if you did beat her up properly, her scars and wounds would have healed. You have to hit her where it hurts her. Money. You have to sue her for everything she has, get a divorce from that man, and flee with all of that money. With the recording, you could clearly hear me hitting her. What are you talking about? Just then, Harold selected the audio clip section of my attack and deleted it. I don't hear anything of you fighting someone, and I certainly don't hear anyone threatening to take you to court. I was overwhelmed. I was so grateful for these people. I swear that they were indeed my guardian angels. The next day, we set off back home. I was all the while ignoring calls and texts from Jack and Becky, and I think they were trying to do some damage control. I don't know why it took them this long to realize what they did was wrong, but I didn't care. It was too late to apologize, and let me explain. When I got home, I began to construct my case against my mother-in-law and Jack. I got the best lawyer I could find with the money I had, and we presented the case. Thankfully, even though it took some time, I managed to win the lawsuit against her. She paid me a settlement of $1 million, and I was beyond shocked that I was able to get that much money out of her. It didn't help that she was sending me death threats as we were fighting this battle. As for Jack, we obviously got divorced, and because of the part that he had to pay for gross negligence, he too had to pay me some money on top of the already devised alimony and child support that he was meant to pay. With this influx of funds, I was able to restart my life. I opened a daycare near my home and began a booming business. I named it Georgina's Playhouse. I'd also managed to fly Georgina and Harold out to Florida to celebrate once all of the settlements were finalized. Cheers to a new life for Naomi and Freddie. I hope they prosper. Hear, hear. Cheers. Cheers, Grandma and Grandpa. I love you guys. Not only did I get rid of the toxic cancer that was my ex-mother-in-law and ex-husband, but I gained a lot of money and love from the right sources. People. Georgina and Harold are even entertaining the idea of moving down to Florida. They've been in Canada their whole lives. Maybe they needed a bit of sun and warmth for a change. Regardless, I'm very grateful for this new chapter in my life.